watching Mirror Now. I'm Archana Solanki. Our top focus this hour is that expanding its existing safety guidelines, Twitter has banned posting pictures and videos of private individuals against their wishes. You can now request takedowns of pictures or videos featuring yourself that were posted without your permission. Twitter said, and I quote, "The move is aimed at preventing harassment or invasion of privacy, sharing personal media such as images or videos that can potentially violate a person's privacy and may lead to emotional or physical harm." The misuse of private media can affect everyone but can have a disproportionate effect on women, activists, dissidents and members of the minority communities. Under the existing policy, publishing other people's private information such as phone numbers, addresses and IDs is already not allowed on Twitter. For more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Tanima on the broadcast. Tanima, thank you for joining us. It seems it's a long overdue step that was being awaited by people. A lot of people fear harassment and mental trauma because their private details, their pictures and videos were released on the social media. But now Twitter has finally gone ahead and allowed that the pictures can be taken down from the platform.
This change that has in fact been implemented by Twitter in terms of what they mean by this new policy. Now, the first point that we want to put out for our viewers is that there's going to be no sharing of private people's photos or videos or their videos without consent. This is, of course, the basic premise on which this new policy, this privacy policy has in fact kicked in. Now, the second point, of course, is photos or videos are going to be removed after it's reported. So there's actually a mechanism through which people can report that a particular photo of theirs has been uploaded without their own permission, and then that can in fact be removed after following protocol. Thirdly, a first-person report will also, of course, be needed in order to remove these photos. The user, for that matter, who feels that their privacy has in fact been violated will put out that first-person report. And the context. Now, from Twitter's side, their team will, of course, be looking at the context of the image or photo or the video which has been uploaded without permission. That is going to be assessed by Twitter. And the policy, remember, very important point for our viewers to actually remember, Archana, is that the policy is not applicable to media featuring public figures, and the policy is not applicable to media shared in public interest. Those are the two exceptions which have been put out in terms of this new policy that Twitter has in terms of safeguarding people's rights when it comes to their private photos and videos.
All right, thank you, Tanima, for taking us through that new step. And to understand this development better and to gain more insights, I'm joined by N.S. Napinai, who's an advocate and a cyber law expert. And I'm also joined by Yogita Bhayana, who's a lawyer and is an active Twitter user. First, I would like to speak to N.S. Napinai. Thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to Mirror Now and making time. The move is aimed at preventing harassment or invasion of privacy as per Twitter. Right, and sharing images can potentially lead to emotional or physical harm. This is the Twitter statement. Do you think this was long overdue, that now nobody can post private pictures of individuals without their permission?
Absolutely. It is indeed long overdue. The first step is what you've already mentioned, which is about the possibility of harassment, stalking, trolling, etc. From that perspective, it's definitely a welcome move. It takes the position that is under Indian law a step further. Under Indian law, if it is imagery which is of private parts or nudity, etc., of individuals, then it is definitely mandated for a takedown. Whereas what Twitter's current stand says is with respect to any kind of photographs or videos. But having said that, it is still technically in compliance with a law. The general GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, actually mandates this kind of a takedown and states that if it is of private parties, if it's private persons, the uploading of the photographs without their consent is impermissible. There is a very interesting case which came out recently in May 2020 of a grandmother uploading the photographs of her grandchildren. And the mother asked for the mother of the children asked for the takedown of these photographs, and the grandmother refused, claiming that she had the right to share them online. And this was actually on Facebook. And the Netherlands court actually applied GDPR to say that even the grandmother did not have the right to upload the photographs of her grandchildren and directed that she had to take it down. And for violations, every day's violation can result in a fine. So if you look at Twitter's stand now, the reason why I said long overdue is, one is there are enough reports, including of Amnesty International, which talks about toxic Twitter and talks about how particularly women and children are softer targets on Twitter, and how these kind of violations against them affect them physically and psychologically, and not just, because it's virtual, it can't be assumed that the harm is lesser. The second aspect of it is GDPR came in way back. It was introduced in 2016, became effective in 2018. We are in 2021. So it was definitely long overdue. And why don't we, or why not get the benefit of GDPR across the world? So it's a good move.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Yogita Bhayana is also with us on the broadcast. Ms. Bhayana, thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. Now, Twitter says that the misuse of private media can affect everyone, but can have a disproportionate effect on women, activists, dissidents, and members of the minority communities. Have you personally experienced it, or do you know of experiences of people, especially women, who faced harassment after their private details or pictures were made public on social media without their permission?
Absolutely. I think it's a good move in a way that it will definitely protect the privacy. It will definitely protect the dignity, because sometimes videos go viral and the person doesn't even know. But because I'm an activist also, but in a way, I also feel that it is, I have both opinion on this. It is kind of a way of suppressing the voice also. So I don't know how they will strike the balance on it. The Twitter. How they are going to strike the balance in the sense that, at the same time, this is a platform to raise your, how they are, and you need to support this with a picture. Right now, I'm also supporting some students here, UPSC aspirants. So, like, I'm putting on my social media continuously with the photos. So if I start taking from each one of them, I think then it'll be too late for me to raise my voice. So I have opinion, like, in a way it is good to kind of, which protects your privacy, but at the same time it will also curtail the passion of activism, or the spirit of activism. I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, but it is too early to say anything. Let's see the how it goes, and can comment better after that.
Right. Ms. Napinai, what is your view on that? I think that's a very valid point. Do you think in some way it will also, while we welcome this move, but what about those who are actually trying to raise valid issues? What do you think in that direction, as Yogita raised that point?
It's indeed a very valid point. Whenever we talk about social media and any kind of restrictions in terms of sharing of data or content on it, the first issue that comes up is of free speech, and whether it's going to violate our fundamental right of free speech and expression. So my hope, rather than looking at it from a different perspective, is this. The rules clearly say that this pertains only to that of private photographs. There is an exemption in terms of public figures and also public interest. So the issue that Yogita raised could clearly fall under public interest. But whether it is being applied or implemented in letter and spirit, balancing free speech with protecting individual rights is what is going to be a very tough balancing act for Twitter to do. And here they've actually stepped into the realm of moderating content. So there are a lot of issues that are likely to arise. Definitely, there will be a lot of controversies, but this is what my input would be for all users. Firstly, engage with Twitter to ensure that, one, if it is a violation of your rights, ask for a takedown. If you are the person posting and you believe it has been wrongly taken down, engage with the platform first to ensure or clarify why it should be reinstated and ask for the same. If not, remember that there are remedies in law, avail of them. Because unless and until jurisprudence evolves in this field, we are not going to be able to automatically instill these kind of balancing acts.
Right. One last question to Yogita is that while this is one move and we all have little, conflicted views on this because the fine print is still awaited and we'll see how this process goes. But, an important point there being raised by Twitter is that harassment of women, activists, members of the minority communities. In your view, what are the other steps that media giants, social media giants like Twitter can take? Because we believe that in Australia, the government is proposing a law to sort of unmask the online trolls. In your view, what are the other steps that Twitter can take in order to help people not go through this trauma?
That is completely a good move, as I said, in a way that it will protect the dignity of the women. And there are many other things like, as you just mentioned, the trolling part. They need to identify, because right now it has to be reported to Twitter. There is no automatic the lingo which they picks up, and they need to block without any delay. In the sense, they need to give a very strong message to the trollers, the people, those who are using obscene language, obscene pictures, So I think they have to be more stricter to such perpetrators.
Okay.
So they need to show some kind of a stricter example on the same. So I think there are many things which I think the experts would be in a better position to explain. But I think the more and more serious they get, especially when it comes to the women's safety, women harassment, I think that will be a very strong message.
All right. Thank you so much, Yogita Bhayana and Enes Napinai, for your precious time and offering us your insights on this development by Twitter.
Thank you.
Right. On that note, we will